Okay, welcome to part 2. What we're going to do is going to try and formalise this whole process, okay? So we're just going to define things, okay? So the simple interest, that's the amount of money I earn in interest. We're going to call that I. So that's the interest that you've earned. So I'll just sort of write it there. That's the interest earned. Okay, that little bit of extra money that the bank gives you. Okay, the principal, which we're going to use the letter P for the principal, that is the initial amount. The initial amount, the amount you start with. Okay, we call that a principal. That's what you begin with. Okay, the rate of interest is the per year interest rate. And that's very important. The per year interest rate. And we always use that as a multiplier. So, for example, if the interest rate is 7%, then we're going to change that to 0.07. We do it as a multiplier. Okay? Right, and then we've also got the period of time, which I'm going to use the letter N. Okay, so usually it's the number of years, but you've got to be careful because we could talk about numbers of weeks or numbers of months. So you've got to read the question really, really carefully. And if you followed what we were doing in the last video, all we were saying is that we start off, if we want to know the interest, we multiply the amount that we start off with, the principal, times it by the interest rate, and then multiply that by the number of years most of the time, okay? So, you could see that in action here. Was the principal times the interest rate times the number of years. Okay, so there we go. We have a formula. And you know what's coming. We've got a formula now. We're going to use it. We're going to make equations. And we're going to solve those equations. Okay? So, here is a question about interest. So, it says, if I put $600 in a bank account at 10% per annum, so 10% annual interest, how long will it take to earn $480 in interest? So let's write down the formula. Interest is equal to the principal times the interest rate times the number of years. Now, what do I know and what do I not know? But actually, this time, I know the amount of interest I want, 480. I know the principal because I started off with $600, and I know the rate. It's 0.1. Okay, 10% is the same as 0.1. What I don't know is the number of years. Okay, so it's saying how long will it take. So all I need to do now is solve this equation. Now we can simplify it first, because that will be 480 is equal to, 600 times 0.1 is 60, so 60x. Okay, so I'm just going to write up here, 60x is equal to 480. So what does x equal? We just got to do a division. We've got to divide both sides of the equation by 60. And what's 480 divided by 60 is equal to 8. Okay, so that means n is equal to 8. So it will take me 8 years to earn that amount of interest. So n is 8 years. Again, we use the formula. We put in what we know, and then write an x when we don't know, and then we just solve the equation. Same process all the time. Okay, here's another question. If I put $400 in a bank and I earn $30 a year in simple interest, then what was the interest rate? Sorry, that's a spelling mistake there. What was the interest rate? So, again, write the formula. Interest is equal to the principal times the interest rate times the number of years. Well, the interest I know is 30. Okay? The principal, the amount I put in first was 400. What's the interest rate? I don't know. So I'll call that X. And this $30 is what we earned in 1 year. So the number of years is just 1. Okay? So all we're going to do is we're going to get 30 is equal to 400 times 1 is still 400. So 400x. So let's write that up here. 400x equals 30. So how do I solve the equation? Simply divide both sides by 400. And so what does x equal? 30 divided by 400. Let's just do that on a... Okay, so we're going to get 0.075. Now that's the multiplier. So what's the rate of interest? Well, times that by 100. 7.5%. Okay? So let's have a go at that. Use this formula. EAD. Use the formula. Okay? Put in what you know. When you don't know, call it X. So here are 4 questions for you to have a go at. Okay? And I'm just going to highlight number 2. Be really careful. This is per month. Okay, 1.5% interest per month. So that just complicates that question slightly. All right, stop your video and have a go. Okay, so first one about Rayanne. Rayanne put $3,000 in a bank for 5 years. She earned 6% interest per year. How much did she have at the end? Well, let's look at the interest is equal to principal times rate times the number of years. Now, actually, what we don't know here is the amount of interest. I need the amount of interest. So I'm going to call that X. I know the principal is 3,000. I know the interest rate is 0.06. And the number of years is 5. So I'm just going to do that in my calculator. Solve that equation. 3,000 times 0.06 times 5 equals 900. It would be very easy to think this is the answer to the question, but it's not, because the question says how much did she have at the end, so how much in total. So in total she would have had the interest plus the principal, because that doesn't go anywhere. So she has $3,900. So you've got to be really careful and read the question carefully. Do you want to know the interest or do you want to know the total? All right. So that's the first one. Shouldn't have deleted that. Right, now let me write down the formula again, because we're going to use that formula for every single one of these questions. Right, Hamid put $2,000 in a bank for 2 years. He earned 1.5% interest per month. Right, so again, what we need to do is find the interest. Principal is 2,000. Rate of interest, 0.015. Okay, now, what's the number that we need to put in here? Well, you actually earn this 1.5% per month. Okay, not per year this time. And you're doing it for 2 years. So what you've got to do is work out how many months are there in 2 years. Well, if it's 12 in 1 year, it must be 24. 24. Okay, so this N really, it's not the number of years or the number of days or the number of months. It's the number of times you get paid interest. Now, if you're getting 1.5% every month, 2 years, you're going to get paid 24 times. Okay, so that's what we put in the calculator. 2,000 times 0.015 times 24 equals 720. But again, how much did we have at the end? Well, the principal didn't go anywhere. So the total should be 2,000 plus 720 equals $2,720. Okay. Right, let's delete that and we'll do question 3. Okay. Awab put $500 in the bank account. After 1 year, he had $550. What was the annual rate of interest? Again, should be easy. Except there's a slight problem here, isn't there? We actually don't know how much interest he made, but we can work it out. What we know is he had $500 in the bank to begin with. So that's my principal. Let's just write that down. Okay. We know it happened after 1 year, so that's the rate of time. And we also know, we want to know the annual interest rate. So the annual interest rate is X and the number of years is 1. But what's the amount of interest? Well, he started with 500 and he finished with 550. So we must have ended up with $50 in interest. Okay, we must have earned $50 in interest. So 50 is equal to, let's simplify the right-hand side of the equation, it's 500x. Whoops, sorry about that. So now divide both sides by 500. And we should find that x is equal to 0.1. So x is 10%. Okay, the annual interest rate must have been 10%. Okay, remember to ask if you're having any problems. Just get rid of that. Okay. And finally, Lubna put $4,000 in the bank account for 5 years. At the end, she had $4,600. What was the annual rate of interest? Well, again, what we don't know is the rate of interest. We know the principal is $4,000. We know the X is going to be my interest rate because I don't know. Okay, and then we did it for 5 years. How much interest did we earn? We didn't earn 4,600 interest. We must have earned 600 because 4,600 minus 4,000 is 600. That's the amount of interest we must have earned. So let's simplify again. 6,000 is equal to 20,000 X. So X must be, well, divide both sides by 20,000. Okay, and my calculator says, so 600 divided by 20,000. Okay, 0.03. So the annual rate of interest must have been 3%. Okay. I hope that makes sense. We finished everything. Let's just check. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Yeah. So, of course, if you're unsure about anything, you're going to come on the call and get some help. Now, what I want you to do for one of your tasks, okay, is have a go at answering this joke. Okay, so the joke is, why was the belt sent to jail? Okay. Now, in the Firefly task for this one, I've included the PowerPoint. Okay. So what you need to do is send me back the PowerPoint with the correct answers. Okay. So here's how you do it. Here are the questions. What you need to do here is tell me how much money you would have after the time period. Not how much interest, how much total money. So I'm going to do the first one for you. So it's 4,000 is the principal. Times an interest rate, 0.05, times the number of years. Okay, so you 4,000 times 0.05 times 3 equals 600. Okay, so the total amount of money that you would have at the end is 4,600. Okay, dollars. Then look at the code. Look for 4,600. There it is. So that's an F. So the letter is F. When you fill in all these letters, it should tell you the answer to the